Hello fellow dragons, it's Shane from Astral Dragon Gaming, and today we're talking about Inmost, a game put out by Hidden Layer Games and published by Chucklefish. Now, this is a basic pixel art game that is, in its own right, very striking and very dynamic in its own design. We'll cover the basics of visuals, down through to the graphics and other things and other bits and pieces that they use. We'll go over through to the sound, and then we'll move on to the actual gameplay and the feasibility of you forking out your hard-earned money to play this game. So, let's have a look at what it looks like. It is a very striking and unusual game. A game that really cuts back and makes it very, very simple. The majority of the time it's in a very two-toned or monochrome sort of structure with highlights of colours and whatnot. The pixel art is very striking and very interesting in its own right. The sprites that you control are very small, and effectively it becomes a very interesting 2D game that is highlighted by this starkness, much like games such as Limbo and also Inside as well. Both games that hold this certain sort of premise contained within it. So you effectively control three characters in this game as you're playing through, and their art styles between the three different sort of levels is very, very distinct. Even this opening sequence is very, very distinct in how it approaches and how it conveys the message. Most of the time you are watching this all pan out in a very dramatic and very vivid vision. There is very few sort of things contained within this that are not purposely put there. They're very well done. And considering that this entire game is mostly a puzzle platformer design, it has its own sort of story and its own sort of arc that is highlighted and shown by the graphical style. The most important thing I think that they've shown off here is the concept of having layers. The layers themselves make such a difference in this entire game, because the layers are sort of, there's a highlighted layer which is basically a film over the entire game. Then there's the base layer, which is the entire sort of game design and everything. And then there's even a back layer again, which gives a kind of luminescence to certain parts of the games. The way they've used light here and there and darkness in other places that sort of show exactly what you're supposed to be doing and where you can go and where you can't go is a fantastic design concept for this. Being such a minimalistic game, it conveys the entire story and interesting characters that are contained within. Now, I'll stop talking for a few minutes and we'll have a quick listen to the basic sound and whatnot, and then we'll go over the concepts and whatnot.
Do you remember it? That tale about flowers? I thought it was a good story. I thought it's sure to have a happy ending. served the keeper out of fear. Others served the keeper out of greed, expecting to be rewarded for their service. They went into the lands and they gathered the pain. And thus the pain multiplied, and their own hearts blackened.
One of the most interesting things I found about the sound is that I thought this entire game was just silent. And then at a sudden point, someone started telling me a story about a knight. And I was just very blown away by the cadence of the voice that was put out there. It was very endearing. It was kind of sad, and it was it pulled at the heartstrings and whatnot. And the voice over for it was a fantastic sort of sudden Easter egg to suddenly come through for rewarding you for playing so long in the game at that point in time. The sounds, for the most part, are very good. They're very atmospheric. They're great sort of punches of wax of a sword, a hitting of a character when it falls down. The movement of the sludge monsters is really, really kind of gross and fantastic. And all sorts of other things that just give this an environmental sound, a real living sort of world sound that's fantastic. And even the background noise of, say, rain or wind or a storm or wood cracking or stuff like that is just so well placed in this game. Another very important thing that's placed in this game that I find extraordinarily good is the music. Now, the music is mostly a piano-based sort of music, and 9 times out of 10, a piano-based piece of music that is done well is always going to hit you in the heartstrings really well. And this piece has been done well because not only do they implement the sort of music at the right points, but on top of that, they instigate different sounds that come and emphasize parts of the music as well, which is what really hits home for a soundtrack, is making sure that the music is in the right place and fits the right point in time. That is the entirety of this game. And that's what I love about the sound and music in this game. It is integral to the entire game, and it just makes the entire thing. So let's cut down to the chase. The game is short. There is not any way to really beat around that. You'll be lucky if you take more than 3 to 4 hours to finish it. If you do, well, that's probably because you're dealing with puzzles, or how you deal with solutions to puzzles is different, because everyone handles puzzles differently. I've found people that have done Monkey Island and it's taken them many more hours than it would take me. But the thing is, I'm kind of one of the students of, I look at something and I think moon logic, and I solve a puzzle in that way and frame of mind. but not everyone has that capability. One of the most interesting things I've found in this entire game is that it's talking about ultimately one story. It's not actually talking about multiple stories here. It's talking about pain. And I think trying to talk about pain is a difficult thing unless you've actually ever experienced it. And pain can be so many different things, and that's what this game really hits home when you come towards the end. It talks about the concepts of pain, talks about the concepts of dealing with pain, and all these other things, and it really is an integrally fantastic thing, which is one of the reasons why it highlights itself and makes you sort of play it. The puzzles are not super taxing, but at the same time there are puzzles in this that will catch you off guard. Like at one point I was walking down a corridor and I swear it was an endless corridor, but no, it wasn't. It was just a trick that you walked continuously down a corridor, and the only way to actually get past and move forward in the puzzle was to turn backwards, and then that was the next path that led to where you wanted to go. So you play as three characters in this game. You play as a little girl who is in a household where she has a father that seems to be abusive in her view of him, a mother that is sort of almost catatonic and afraid of the child, and a girl that is very much alone and has a little rabbit character that talks to her. Then you have a knight, which is fighting for or serving this creature that wishes you to go and kill all these different things in order to collect pain so that the creature can have these pain crystals that it takes off every person, or a spirit sort of energy off each person that is in pain and whatnot. And then finally you play as a man that seems to be searching for someone. But at the end of the day, this entire sort of metaphysical sort of story is talking about a little girl that suffered. People tried to help. It ended up becoming worse, and the old man trying to save the little girl in the entirety of it all. And it's this very lovely story of these people suffering that are trying to overcome this overall sort of problem and pain that they all suffer for various reasons. Now, this is not a game for everyone because not everyone likes pixel games, and not everyone likes paying 30 Australian dollars for a game that is possibly more expensive than it needs to be. And sorry, my apology, 20 Australian dollars. Actually better than I thought, but still, not everyone is willing to pay for that. But at the same time, the amount of work and the amount of effort that's gone into this game, you would be hard pressed to find a better game to sort of spend your time. And the other thing about this game is that it is giving you so much more in both concepts and dealing with understanding things, that it has its own sort of justifications for its time. And I like that about a game like this. You will probably come to the end of this game and then start to question what the ending is, and not everyone is going to know what the ending is like, and that's fine. But at the same time, it has a great sort of just overall feel as you're playing each part of the game and dealing with the story and whatnot, that it just makes you grow more and more attached to it. And also different parts of the game are kind of like a Metroidvania, where you can't progress one section unless you go and collect a particular tool to help you access the next section, and so on and so forth. And there's hidden areas, there's hidden lore, there's hidden dialogue, there's different things that you can do or can't do. It's a very very small game, but at the same time very complicated in its own right, and I love that for it. And a game like that should be heralded for how good it is and what it does. And, you know, not everyone is going to play this game and know what they want out of it. But for me, personally, I loved it. For everyone else, it's a good game, it's solid, it's not very long. That's probably the only thing that will probably hurt this game in most things. But, you know, if you have $20 sitting around and you want to experience something, go splash it on this game and you'll probably enjoy it. Anyway, thank you very much for listening to me rant about a game. I hope you're having a fabulous day. I hope you're all staying safe in this godforsaken time that we're all sort of plunged into. And yeah, I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.
Even they believe. But the Keeper won't ever let them go. The pain they harvest and nurture and steal. And even more so, the pain they suffer themselves.